Begin your sequence today with 3 deep breaths. In through the nose, letting the belly rise on the inhale, and out through the mouth, a slight abdominal contraction on the exhale. Using the breath and the movement of the muscles that create the breath to produce a pressure change in the body that moves fluid. The breath is one of the main ways that the body intrinsically moves lymphatic fluid. Now moving on to the unaffected axilla, or the armpit that has not had lymph nodes removed. Using a broad flat hand, engage up and in towards the armpit, then release, using enough pressure to get good engagement into the tissue, but not so much that you're digging into the armpit or creating any muscular strain. MLD is more effective skin on skin without layers of clothing in between your hand and the area that you're working. Next, we move to the inguinal axillary anastomoses that run across the waistline. Using a broad flat hand at the waistline, gently engage into the tissue and stretch the skin up towards the axilla, away from the affected inguinal nodes. This movement opens up the lymphatic fail-safe anastomoses that cross over the lines that typically delineate flow. Now that we've opened up the anastomoses, you can start working up the side of the body, guiding fluid away from the affected inguinal and towards a healthier set of nodes. Using a broad flat hand, apply those gentle skin stretching movements all the way from the affected inguinal up the side of the body towards the same side axilla. Relatively gentle pressure using the weight of your hand and really focusing on stretching the skin. Stay in one place for a couple repetitions, then move the hand up to the next placement. This work is most effective done skin on skin. You can do this for as little or as long that fits into your life and schedule. Now let's move on to the unaffected inguinal nodes, or the inguinals that have not had nodes removed. Using a broad flat hand in the hip crease, create gentle circles throughout the entire groin region, really engaging into the tissue and looking to apply movements that create fluid flow in this area. Play around with your hand placement here and move those circles all around this region. This set of nodes runs the length of the hip crease, so changing your hand position will create a more thorough opening in this area. Then moving on to the interinguinal anastomoses that connect the inguinal nodes across the midline of the body. So using 1 or 2 hands on the midline just above the pubic bone, apply skin stretching movements toward the unaffected side. So you're engaging into the tissue, stretching that tissue away from the affected side. Then after opening the anastomoses, working your way across the hips from the affected inguinal towards the unaffected. Applying gentle skin stretching movements starting from the affected side, work your way across the hips towards the unaffected inguinals. Stay in one hand placement for several repetitions before moving to the next hand placement, really focusing on getting that engagement into the tissue and stretching the skin as much as possible. Release the pressure before beginning again. This is gently guiding fluid away from the affected inguinals towards a healthier set of nodes. Now that we've done all that prep work, we can finally address the affected side and the affected limb. So taking a broad flat hand in the affected inguinals, engage into the hip crease and move the hand in circles, adjusting the hand to address the entirety of this hip crease just like we did on the unaffected side, using that gentle skin-on-skin pressure to create change in the tissues and encourage fluid movement. And finally, working our way down the affected limb, remembering that you can do this sequence for as long or as short as you need once you get the basics down. So working your way down the leg with those same gentle skin stretching movements we've been using through this whole sequence. Starting at the top inside of the leg, engaging into the tissue, stretching the skin up towards the inguinals, then releasing to begin again. Stay in one area for several repetitions, then move down the leg one handprint. Do this down the entire inside of the affected leg. Once you get to the knee, gently engage up and into the knee pit, opening these nodes at the back of the knee. Then work your way down the lower leg with those same gentle skin stretching movements, keeping the pace slow and intentional, knowing that you can make this sequence as short or as long as you want or need. We've done all the prep work to be sure that the fluid we are moving from the affected limb has a place to go, and now we can safely work our way up this affected limb. After working that affected limb, readdressing the areas that we've already worked. So working the unaffected inguinals with that broad flat hand, and then skin stretching movements from the affected to the unaffected inguinal. And same thing with the axilla, readdressing that same side axilla, and just reinforcing those anastomoses pathways that we cleared, working our way from the affected inguinal up that same side towards the axilla. We'll finish just like we started with 3 deep breaths. using that breath and the musculature that creates it to produce fluid moving pressure change. Taking a moment to thank your body for all that it does, and taking a moment to thank yourself for taking the time to do this sequence today.